All right, here we go. Welcome to the wonderful world of Gen X, live every single Sunday, right around 8 p.m. ish each Sunday, basically taking over our old Sunday night slot where we all gather together, crisscross applesauce, Indian style, as we used to call it back then, to sit around in front of the television and watch the wonderful world of Disney. But instead, we've co opted that time slot and bring you the Sunday night wonderful world of Gen X, a time where a bunch of us get together on both Facebook and YouTube in order to talk about all things Generation X. And now we're just waiting for some people to join in that are catching it live. Looks like we've got some people joining over on Facebook. Welcome to the wonderful world of Gen X. Looks like we've got Doreen, first one in the house for YouTube. Welcome. What's going on? There's Kristen. There's number two. Marie, how are you? Cindy, good to see you. Kristen, hello. Hey, there's Stacy. Val's Black Cats is in the house. Pearl, how are you? Corey. Maddie Gordon in the house. Tammy Elaine. Maddie, you got yourself in a little bit of trouble making fun of me on my page this week. Hey, Kevin. How are things in Richmond, Virginia? Hey, Christine. Sarah, good to see you. Jody, good to see you. Ronaldo and Blister, Rick and Bridget, thank you. Hellraiser's in the house. Marilyn coming in from Northern Virginia. Christine Davis, Lawrence, trying something a little different today. I actually went in. You know, it's funny, Gen Xers, maybe it's just me. Hey, Teresa. But do you guys all have that box full of stuff? Like box full of, I swear to God, I've got an old VCR in there. I've got probably my first Nokia phone is in that box. Cables that I don't know what the hell they go to, but they're in there. AC adapters. I've got an old Sony Vaio laptop that weighs like 27 pounds. And I also found another phone that actually still worked well enough to connect to the internet. And I'm using that on Facebook. So instead of using a laptop for Facebook and my phone for YouTube, we're going all Samsung on both. So let me know how it looks. Yeah, but that box, man, I was digging through there, and my wife saw me. She's like, "Why are we keeping that stuff?" But it's just, I'm convinced that the minute I throw something out, my God, I've turned into my father. But the minute I throw something out, I'm convinced I'm gonna need it. And there are those few moments when my wife or my kids are like, "We really need X," and I'm like, "You know what? I got you." And off to the box I go. So it is what it is. Sarah says, just purged my attic and closet. Stace is clearing out my storage unit. So, yeah. Life on Wheels says, I love it here. We love having you here. Jody saying hello to everybody. Marie says her husband's the same way. Tina says she still has a bag phone. Dude, that's awesome. I wish I had a bag phone. Kevin, I've got a box of nail screws and clips as well, but that comes in handy because I'll get something. My wife will go shop at Kia or pick something up, God forbid, from like TUI or one of those discount places, and the stuff they give you are never good enough. Generation X Latchkey Originals is in the house over on Facebook side. Good to see you, buddy. Derek coming in from Springfield, Illinois. Can't read Kenny Etta coming in from Chicago. Hello. John Carter says my favorite YouTuber. God bless, man. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I still have a retro refurbished 1970 rotary dial payphone and it works. I wish I had stuff. I'm starting to recollect stuff as I go along, kind of using that little bit of adult money I now have to buy my toys. Wirehead's probably late to the party, Marie. He'll be here. Hey, BJ's Art, good to see you. Serial Killer, Cereal, is in the house. Monique coming in from Las Vegas. Robert from Philly. Dorinda, hello. Andrew, good to see you, buddy. Good to see you, Booney. Goonie. Matt Buff Burton is there. Dude, I would love to start collecting more and more of this stuff. So like a lot of us, and I don't like to overly generalize. Yeah, that's Mad Dog 2020 on the shelf. This was gifted to me, as was the Everclear, as was a lot of the stuff here. My buddy Mark gave me the Rubik's Cube. My buddy Chris Clues wrote and gifted me the book on 80s stuff. So yeah, I'm recollecting that stuff. But a lot of us left the house at like 18, right? I mean, was it just me? I grew up in a small town. So in a small town, there wasn't many opportunities to live at home and still go to college. So I didn't have any choice. I had to leave home. But a lot of us, whether it was college or the military, whether it was working, we more earlier than kids today, I think, left home. So I left home at 18 and I left behind some stuff. And then my parents moved, and some of my stuff made it to the move and some of my stuff didn't make it to the move. And then they moved again, and less of my stuff made it through that move. So I don't have any stuff left. When are we going to break out the bottles of MD 2020? Well, I'll tell you, somebody did a video where they asked the question, what could somebody gift you that doesn't cost a lot of money that would still make you happy? And I was thinking about it, and like any of this stuff, which none of it costs a lot of money. I mean, come on, seriously, we're back almost to Christmas, God help us, which I love Christmas, by the way. I got this. This didn't cost a lot of money, but it made me very happy. A lot of this stuff on the shelf didn't cost a lot of money, but it makes me happy. So I was going to do a video, there's Wirehead, pointing out a bunch of this stuff, and I was going to end it with the bottle of Mad Dog 2020, and I was thinking, if I was doing nothing else that day, maybe, possibly, chugging it, and being like, this bottle of MD 2020 made me happy, and then drink it. What part of Pennsylvania oh, I see, somebody's replying. I just don't know what an entire bottle of Mad Dog would do to me at this point. Makes me kind of curious. I think I'd have to do some research. It's not very strong, and there's not a lot to it. I don't know. Some research there. Facebook viewers couldn't see whatever I held up to the YouTube viewers. I will redo. It's just my little Rudolph. So I've got a bunch of these that I got. They didn't cost much, but they make me really happy. It's my Yukon Cornelius, the Bumble, Rudolph, and of course, a snowman. So these things are always here, even though it's not Christmas yet. I'm not trying to break out the Christmas decorations early. I just like having them out because, again, it just makes me happy. And I think they're cute. Cute, as Rudolph said. How do we get so old so fast? Well, I don't know that we got this old this fast, Rick. If we look back on all the shared memories that we all have, I don't know that we got here quickly. I think we took our own sweet time getting here, because I can't speak for all of you, but I shoehorned in a hell of a lot of experiences in my 54 years, and I feel like I've got a lot more to go. So, yeah, I don't know that we got here quickly. We got here unexpectedly, I'll give you that. I didn't necessarily expect to get to 54 years old, but I don't feel like I got here quickly. I feel like my kids grew up quickly. Like my oldest is going to be 21 next month. That happened pretty quickly. Leah said, my husband said my eyes reminded him of Rudolph's girlfriend. Oh, Rudolph's girlfriend. What was her name? I was going to say Clarice, but am I getting Silence of the Lambs confused? It might have been Clarice. That's weird. It just seems fast because we're older, but the memory is awesome. My kids grew up in about a month and a half. I can't account for all the time that has passed, but it doesn't feel as long, I guess. Clarice is right. But every time I say Clarice, I hear Hannibal Lecter, so that kind of ruins it for me. Just a little bit. I didn't expect to make it to 30. I think, Michelle, a lot of us didn't. I don't know what it was about us. Was it the fact that we grew up in the shadow of the Cold War? Like really being told as children to expect global nuclear, thermonuclear, global annihilation at any time. I mean, kids today have it rough. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I understand that in terms of violence in schools and the things they're seeing, it's rough. But I think people don't quite understand that as kids, we didn't think our school, God forbid, would be taken out. We didn't think we'd be taken out as individuals. We thought our entire existence would be taken out. I truly remember as a fifth grader believing that World War III was around the corner. You know, it was it. Just duck and cover, to Sarah's point. It was an inevitability. Movies like The Day After certainly didn't help. Watching war games. I mean, the world believed it, and we drilled for it. So when a teacher tells you to dive under your desk, or to go to the auditorium in a thin, orderly, non-panicky line, like that's going to help. We believed it. So yeah, Deborah, I get it. And that's what I meant when I said I didn't use the words you used, but the violence in schools and the threat. But again, at its worst, that's as God forbid, as devastating as that is. It's one, and it is devastating. It's horrible. I can't overextend that. But what gets underplayed is we didn't think that there would be an incident at a school at a time. We truly believed our entire existence was going to come to an end. Every school, across every town, across every city, across every state, across the entire country. There's a difference there. And I'm not trying to play we suffered more than you suffered. I'm just trying, especially as we get younger people, my YouTube skews a little younger, and sometimes they feel we don't relate to them. And I like to bring these conversations up so that they can see that although different, we did relate. Yes, Heather. And again, I get it. But again, there's a difference between one school at a time and all of existence, the entire world coming to an end. We didn't expect any of us would get out alive, if that makes sense. But again, I'm not trying to outdo the kids of today. I'm trying to explain to them that in our own way, we can relate, because we truly thought that it was going to end for us. And then I think some people forget too that the earliest incident of the stuff we're talking about goes back to the 50s, not to the extent that it is today, but it's been rough. I remember 3 Mile Island. I was in high school. I don't remember 3 Mile Island. What's going on, Jeffrey Thomas, my good friend, joining us over at Facebook. Got eyes over my left shoulder. Hey, Peter.
Hi.
This is my little one. Hey, guys, here's the deal. This month, obviously, it's going to very soon be all about spooky season. November, please look for content centered around kind of this one predominantly, because November is March of Dimes Prematurity month. And I like to pick different things just to bring awareness to them at times that maybe we don't all understand. Although I don't necessarily want to turn my page into a serious place. God knows I don't want to turn my page into a serious place. This one was born 1 pound, 12 ounces. At her lightest, she lost weight when she was born. She was down to 1 pound, 9 ounces. My wedding band would go all the way up her thigh. We've got pictures. Emily says I was a preemie. She was a micro preemie and spent 72 years. Oh my God, I love it. Cindy goes, my preemie turned 38 today. Happy birthday. She's gorgeous inside and out, Robert. Thank you. Sue, darling. Sue and I went to school together. Hey, Sue. Sue says hello, Cleo. Hi. Sue, so there's some people, and I've got friends that followed us on our journey the day this one was born, and they got to see her grow and develop over those 72 days in the NICU. Her nurses from the NICU, God bless nurses, still keep in touch with us. They jump on Facebook and wish her birthdays. Heather says mine. And see, all of these people are saying my kids were preemies. There's just not enough attention placed on it to bring an understanding. Mickey says I was a preemie, also a twin. It's the problems of prematurity. Thank you so much, Corey. Are huge. And there's been huge advancements. So I just wanted to bring some light to it. And we'll be doing some fun stuff next month with her, because she's my little fighter. She is our second miracle. I always tell her that our oldest daughter was our first miracle, not because she was a preemie, but she was the one that made us parents and made sure that we were strong enough to be able to survive what this one put us through. Jeffrey Thomas, preemie twin. Hey, Jennifer, catching live for the first time. How are you? The world is so different now for preemie parents. Yeah, the line keeps moving. I remember when she was born 12 years ago, 24 weeks was where we really, really wanted to get to. It seemed like a dream when my wife was on bed rest for 3, 4, 5 weeks, I think, when she was in the hospital for 2, when her cerclage broke. I mean, it was a whole number of things that went wrong. Between her and her older sister, there's 8 years, and people often ask me, why the disparity in ages. It's because we suffered 7 preterm losses between her older sister and her. 2 that we birthed early at like 21 weeks, some that my wife lost earlier. Now Cleo is catching up to me. I didn't catch that. But yeah, so we struggled to have her, but she came. So watch for that next month. Wasn't a preemie just a mistake? I think a lot of Gen Xers were mistakes. I don't think our parents planned things the way we plan today. You hear people saying today, hey, we're trying, which I always thought was a little weird. Because we're trying always meant can't use the word I want to use. Anyway, I always thought it was a little weird when people would announce to the world that they're trying to have kids, but we do, right? People plan for it now. They try and they let the world know that they're trying. Thank you, Brenda. But we try to look at it as if, good job, Andrew, I like it. We look at, yeah, she does have my eyes. We look at it as if we didn't have any losses. All 7 of those potentials for a child that we lost are sitting right here. We just think that it took a while for her soul to come to us in whatever vessel it was supposed to. And it's this one. So that's what we're going with. Luke Adams says, do I have her permission to get her number? Do you know, Luke? If you're over 12, Luke, you and I are going to have words, buddy. God is the one who gives life. I completely agree. You had miracles. Dad and daughter. Absolutely, Rima. Yeah, no mistakes. Unplanned blessings, I guess. Both my boys were surprises. Well, I mean, think about the amount of things that get planned now. I was going to do a video and I ran out of time today about just like everything that's changed. If we look at those of us that were involved in sports, if you were involved in after-school activities, whether it's student council or crossing guard, whether you were in band or choir, whether you were on the soccer team or whatever it was. I mean, I know some parents were involved, but did y'all really get your parents super involved in your sports? Did your parents sign up every week? We have a sign up every week. One of us at her volleyball teams brings the snacks, feeds the kids. Did your parents do that? My parents owned a restaurant. They could have done that. They didn't do that. I don't think they were asked to do that. Did your parents carpool for taking you to school in the morning? Did your parents make sure they waited 30, 40, 50 minutes every day in a car rider line? Did your parents plan play dates for you guys? Like, did they get involved with who your friends were and what you were going to do with your friends and when you were going to do it? These are the things that we make fun of on my page, but are also the things that I'm pretty damn guilty of. For better or for worse, these are the things we did to change. Oh, Mrs. Gearhart says hello, Cleo.
Hi.
We changed those things. Sometimes because it's an overcorrection. Sometimes it's because we think we missed those things and it would have made our lives better. But the contradiction of it all, am I joking, says Sarah. Well, they're kind of questions I know the answers to, but you never know. Because every now and then I'll bring that up and someone somewhere in the comments will say, I'm sorry your parents didn't love you. My parents did all those things. And I'm like, that's great. But don't get it twisted. My parents loved me. But love back then for a lot of parents was an emotion they felt for us, but their obligation was clothes on our back, food in our stomachs, and a roof over our heads. And sometimes in the 70s, those things weren't easy to give us. Things have changed. And I talk about those things.
I was in Mrs. Gearhart's flex.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Very cool. Hi, Laura. I see Lulu in the house. Tough love, definitely a different kind of love than we give today. But, so that's the thing. There's a lot more planning around how we parent today. Some of it's better, some of it's not. All of it's different. Hey, would you do me a huge favor? Mm-hmm. Would you mind running down and getting me a thing of water? Because my throat's starting to go on me. Had a major migraine again earlier today, which took me out of my day job. I didn't get to the bar today. And it just always leaves me like dehydrated. My migraines just take me out for the day. I'm really just glad I was able to still keep my appointment here. I had no planning in my parenting, probably because I don't have kids. That'll do it. Migraines do suck. Food, clothing, shelter, education, in that order. And Joella, I would say not even education, at least for me. The day my parents literally got involved in my education, if my parents were going to help me with my homework, that wasn't a good day for me. They had very little patience. The way they did things, much like today, isn't the way we were being taught at the time to do things. My education was my responsibility. It was my obligation. It was something that I was told I had to take care of. Hey, John, speaking of things Gen X, heading out with my girl, Grammy award-winning Denise Williams to meet up with Philip Bailey and Earth, Wind, and Fire tonight here in Vegas. Dude, that's awesome. Michelle McDaniel, I love you. I thank you for leading the charge. Super chat payment just came through on YouTube. Different ways to support the page. We talked about it. No one's obligated to do a damn thing. But when someone like Michelle does that, $20, it helps me dedicate my time to doing what I do, and I appreciate that y'all appreciate it. Joella says I didn't say they helped. Fair point. YouTube froze, Doreen. How are we now? Thumbs up on YouTube, guys. Hey, Deb, good to see you. Yeah, it did go away. It just always leaves me feeling foggy afterwards. Not frozen there? Okay, good. Yeah, we jump on. Between the two platforms, there's a lot of people coming in and out. It is what it is. The current version of entitlement is beyond my understanding. No respect. Nancy says, my parents loved me, but it was never really verbalized or shown physically. I constantly tell my teens I love them and such. My parents were different when it came to that. Maybe it's the Greek immigrant thing. I heard I love you early and often. I heard my parents verbalized a lot. They verbalized the good things and they verbalized the bad things. So it was a mixed blessing, but there was never any doubt that my parents loved me. Hey, Cherie Tyler, how are you, sweetheart? So that for me was, but even with that love, don't misunderstand the fact that I knew I was loved with the fact that there was an overabundance of care given my way, because there wasn't. My mom, God bless her, I will tell her all the time, if she sees the 12-year-old that ran downstairs riding her bike in our neighborhood, she'll get all over me. How can you let her ride her bike in the neighborhood? Not remembering that when she would call me as a 12-year-old at home and say, Zani, the dishwasher did not show up. So I'd have to ride my bike to the restaurant that we owned in order to do the dishes. She's forgetting that I had to ride that bike over Route 104, which was a major highway. That didn't even enter their radar. They just didn't see it. They see it as grandparents. They didn't see it as parents. Vicks Vapor Rub, really, from migraines? Or contact lenses. I see that being a nightmare. Seems like more Gen X getting migraines than others. Oh, I don't know. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Hey, Katie Jane, good to see you. Lori, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Dorian, I do use Imitrex. I have a subscription of Imitrex, but if I take my Imitrex, I'm out for the day. That's the end of me there. Vale's Black Cat says, oh my goodness, 104, that's a nightmare road. It was. And we had two options. We could either cross it, but if I crossed 104 on my bike as a 12-year-old, then I had to go up a hill on the other side. And I didn't like going up hills. So sometimes I was just a little 12-year-old that ran on the shoulder of a major highway in order to get there to wash dishes. Thank you, Marlene. Appreciate it. Irish, Lithuanian here. Folks said they loved us, but they got better. Said they loved us, but they got better as we grew up doing. I get you. How did my mom do with the hurricane, Harry? Thank you for asking. She's actually visiting my younger brother in New York State. So she wasn't there and no property damage that we know of. So very lucky. Can't imagine a bike on 104. We all did it. It wasn't just me. Every upstate New York kid, every kid in my town. That's how we got to town if we didn't live in town. Grew up in the city. Oh, even my wife grew up in the city. She would walk to school through rough neighborhoods. Karen says my daughter is my twin. My baby. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Appreciate it. Yeah, and, very lucky in Florida. And there's some that weren't as lucky. And there'll be more. It's just the way it is. And we just pray and hope. And Cleo, you still got volleyball going on, Doreen says. They're in the playoffs. Her first round of playoffs is on Monday. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Tomorrow, yeah.
That's tomorrow. Tomorrow's your first game. Mm-hmm. Long Island Expressway on a bike. I'm not surprised. Jackie, P.S. I love our Cubbies. I love our Cubbies too. Better luck next year.
Thank you.
Yeah, Marlene says, congrats on your workout regimen. I'm down to 197 as of today. I honestly never, ever, ever thought that I was going to get sub 200 ever again. I just looked at one of my apps to see where I track. At my heaviest this year, I think my heaviest was around May or June. I was at 222, and now I'm down to 197. So that's, we're coming close on a 25-pound drop. And, some people, I made the comment in one of my posts that muscle weighs more than fat. And some people are like, nope, pound of muscle is the same as a pound of fat. That's true, but muscle is denser. So it takes a lot less muscle to come up to a pound than it does fat. So you could have this much fat that's a pound or this much muscle that's a pound. So equal sizes, this will weigh more than this. So my point is, I was really happy to get down in weight at the same time building muscle tone. And it's feeling good. It's feeling really, really, really good. And I've got a huge incentive, motivation, not just you guys along the journey, but I got to stay young for her because it took us a long time, as I said, 8 pregnancies to get from our older daughter to my younger daughter. And I made a promise to her early on that I would be exactly the same parent to her that I was to her older sister. So that means if she wants me to come play volleyball, I'll come play volleyball. If she wants me to ride the Fury at the amusement park, I'm riding the Fury at the amusement park. I don't say no. So the only way I get to do that is if I stay fit and say, no, I'm not going to go become old before my time. Just not going to do it. I want to stay young for her, but I want to stay young for me too. Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Listen, I'm Mr. Roper's age. I talk about this a lot too. I'm literally, if you watch Three's Company, I feel like Jack, but I'm literally Mr. Roper's age. I'm a year away from being Mr. Furley's age, who, by the way, on the Andy Griffith Show was like 20 years younger than us and still looked older. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jill. Yeah, it's important. I'm an older dad, but I don't want her to suffer for it. My dad was an older dad. My dad was born in 26. My mother I'm not allowed to say when, but there was a considerable age difference between my parents. And my dad was older when he had me, and I felt that. I felt that he was older. And I remember it bothering me as a kid, and I didn't want her to go through the same thing. Sue, that's awesome. God bless him. Yeah, all this they aged, and people come on my page too, and they love to disagree. That's a common denominator. Somebody will jump in and say, well, they gave Mr. Roper, they gave Norman Fell makeup to make him look old. When it comes to Cocoon, Wilfred Brimley was only 48 when he played on Cocoon. And people will jump in and say, no, they gave him makeup. He was supposed to look old. Grandpa Munster was like in his 40s. I get the makeup thing. I don't care. They still look old as hell. A lot of people saying good luck on your game, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Yeah, and staying young for grandbabies someday. My mom is the poster child for not acting her age. Again, I'm not allowed to say how old she is. She would come and beat my ass. But she won't go down without a fight either. They were old looking versus our generation. And I'm not saying we look 20 or anything, but we dress differently. We make different choices. I know Gen X women in their late 50s that still choose to dye their hair blue if they want, or purple, or let it go completely white if that's what they want, or not, right? I know Gen X women who allow their hair to still be down to their waist. Others bring it up to make it doesn't matter, but those weren't choices that were okay back for our moms. Our moms had rules, right? You get to a certain age, the hem of your skirt had to change with your age, the length of your hair, it had to go lighter as you got older. It's you women. I give you guys credit for leading the charge. Gen X women are basically throwing the big middle finger at those rules and saying that, we'll do what we'll do. The hot chick says, I'm going gray, tired of coloring it. That's awesome. That's empowering. That's your choice. And others are making a different choice. Thank you, Cindy. And they're all okay. Hey, Cheektowaga, go Bills, Martin. Deb says, I'll never grow gray. Listen, this one hates when my hair goes gray. So every now and then I'll color it. I'm horrible at it. If you watch videos, I'll have gray temples in one video and then it'll be dark the next and back and forth because I just suck at it. I'm not trying to fool anyone. I do it because she likes it better when I look younger. I love it, Mrs. Gearhart. I love it, Nancy. Tattoo at 50. Don't forget the no white shoes after Labor Day. Do what makes you happy. Just for men, John. I think that's the one I use. It's easier. I couldn't see myself sitting in a salon and getting my hair done. That's not going to happen. I gave up and just went all gray. Jody, it's not giving up. I don't think it's giving up. It's you just made a choice. And it's a choice you're comfortable with. Christine says, do not color your hair. You know what? Sometimes I like to, sometimes I don't. Thank you so much, Laura. Blonde men go gray easier? I didn't know that. The old lady purple hair days with curlers are gone. For most, I would guess. How does your daughter like to have a famous dad? You'd have to ask her, but I don't think she thinks of me as famous. What do you think, kiddo? You can answer that question.
Like, I don't really think of you as famous, though.
Because I'm not. But, okay, so when we went to Disney and more than a few people came up and said hi, and that's awesome. If you guys are ever around, and we love it when you guys come and say hi. It makes me very happy. Or even at your volleyball game, one of the guys.
Yeah.
So how does that make you feel? Honestly,
it's cool. I think
it's okay?
Yeah.
How about when your friends find out? Is that still cool?
Not as much.
Not as much.
But I think it's kind of funny. But...
She does look a little bit like me. Oh, I appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you. Well, and it's I will say, as humble as I try to be about it, there's definitely something changing. The recognition is getting to be a bigger and bigger thing. Different opportunities that are coming my way are changing. So fame is what's the word I'm looking for? It's debatable at any rate. Your hair went darker as you got older. I'm 50. There is a thing with that. My hair was brown as a kid, and then it went black because the same way your hair goes gray, you lose some of that pigmentation that makes your hair have color, and then it either goes black and white, black or white. Thank you, Mickey. I appreciate it. Old is a state of mind. Wired, I couldn't agree more. But it's also a state of being. The time I'm spending in the gym actually lifting weight, resistance training, more than anything else I've ever done. I've swam, I've done the walking thing, I've run more and more than any other thing. Resistance training, literally stressing your body through resistance training, does help reverse the effects of time on a cellular level. It's more about how we feel, not how we look. Color that hair. If it makes you feel better, and I'll be honest, a nice haircut, I'll color my hair, makes me feel good, I'm good to go. It's all good. 62 and still squatting 400 pounds. I love that, Arturo. That's awesome. Am I still friends with my elementary or high school friends? Well, more than a few of them jumped on through Facebook today. Cherie Tyler, I saw you on here. Sue Darling was on here. So yeah. We knock social media, we being people in general, not us, with the bad stuff. Because there is, to be fair, there's bad stuff about it. But there's also amazingly good stuff. This community that we've built of literally hundreds of thousands of people is just one example of a good thing. And the fact that I've reconnected with kids from school is really cool too. Vale's Black Cat's Rule says, I love coloring my hair, thinking of pink next. Awesome. Hot pink sounds great.
Yeah, my hair used to be blonde.
Yeah, and it got darker. In the summer, it still lightens up.
Now it's getting darker.
I've heard that bell bottoms and platform shoes are back in style.
Yeah.
Jessica, I've heard that stirrup pants are back in stores. You guys remember stirrup pants? Bills tomorrow night. Go Bills, Rosemary. Hope we got this against the Jets. 3 years sober and feeling great. Andrew, that's awesome. I love that, man. Very cool. Tried it in the 90s and it didn't work. As far as the bell bottoms and platform shoes, tried it in the 70s too, and it worked a little better then, I think. When will you do one of those 3-topic live streams? That was really fun. So every Friday at, going back next week, so this Friday we go back to 5:30. Fridays at 5:30 on YouTube. We do a live studio audience version of the 3 View Mirror podcast. So if anybody wants to be there when we actually film, Cleo, would you like to do awesome color with your hair?
I have one, my neighbor put some blue in my ends. I liked it. It was cool.
They do the whole Kool-Aid? Is it
Yeah.
like Kool-Aid coloring? Yeah.
It was cool. It was cool. Maybe.
So yeah, Fridays at 5:30. If you jump on my YouTube page, you can be part of our live studio audience, and that's Eastern time zone. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Heads up. I do forget that. So yeah, Friday at 5:30. We try to push it back as late as we can. It runs about an hour, maybe a little more than that. So it gives you guys time to jump in. 3 topics, 1 hidden connection. And you guys become part of the show when you're in the studio audience. We use your comments as part of the show. What do I think of my big fat Greek wedding portrayal of Greek families? It was pretty spot on. Not gonna lie. I went with my mom, my wife's family's Greek as well. There was a bunch of us that took up a huge section of the audience at the screening of that movie, and it was funny because when they would say a joke in Greek, you would hear all the Greek people laugh, then the subtitles would come on and all the American people would laugh. It was pretty spot on.
I remember that. That was fun.
I wish I had a sweet daughter. Oh, I love stirrup stretch pants. Deb loved her stirrup pants. Michelle, thank you so much for that. Hey, oldest Gen Xer here. May only be 51, but I swear my soul is 340. I have 2 daughters and they still fight. She looks like you. I've heard that. Do we use Windex? Not exactly. There is this ammonia solution that they'll use for things like that. It's not Windex is what they called it on the movie to make it more relatable, I guess. So there's something like that, though. My brother's still trying to sell his house in Crete, but I loved it there. It's a beautiful place to walk around. We're going to try to get to Greece next year. I want to take the kids to see some of my family. I still have a lot of family there. Sue asked if I speak Greek. I do. My wife and I are both fluent. I spoke Greek before I spoke English. My oldest daughter understands it because we still had a lot of family around when she was growing up. This one,
not so much.
Not so much. That's on us. Salute from Rochester. Hey, Roger. Good to see you, buddy. Actually watched Terminator for the first time because of the podcast. Yeah, this past week, the 3 topics were the Terminator movie, Aliens, and the wreckage of the Titanic. And there's a hidden connection between those 3 things that you will find out at the end of the podcast. Royal says I was blocked on YouTube comments. I'm sorry about that. YouTube does what YouTube does, as does Facebook. It is what it is. There she is. Somebody asked if any of my friends from elementary school still kept in touch. Cherie Tyler Poole, right there on Facebook, is one of my oldest friends. Did you send your kids to Greek school? It is a thing. We didn't do it. They were busy otherwise.
They're speaking Greek.
Oh, they're speaking Greek. Jeffrey Lamberger says, Agapo Yanni, I love John. Apoterena, Gen X. Stonalon from one Gen Xer to another. And what's funny is I'm reading in Greek, but I never went to Greek school. We spent one summer in Greece, and I just taught myself how to read. So I don't read quickly, but I can still do it. Thank you, Royal Palm. I appreciate that. Thanasi, I can tell by your name. Die Hard rules. Without a doubt, we're coming up on Christmas season.
I'm very excited for that.
Are you? What else?
Oh.
I learned a lot of bad Greek words from my best friend. That's funny.
I also don't know what I'm going to be for Halloween still, so if you guys have any ideas.
So, yeah, she's struggling with Halloween ideas. I'm struggling. Go Bills from West Seneca. I'm struggling. I think my neighbor is thinking about he's going to go as Wesley from The Princess Bride, in which case I'm growing out a goatee because I would be Inigo Montoya.
Not a Christmas movie.
Yes, it's a Christmas movie. They even play Christmas music. But we're Gen X. We can agree to disagree. Die Hard, great Christmas movie. Gremlins, great Christmas movie.
I've been saying not a Christmas movie.
Yana Simeroso, Ikuyenya, Muine Apoto. Oh, Jeffrey, my family's from Thessaloniki as well. My mom's from Thessaloniki, my dad's from Florina.
What's California grape?
California grape. It was a commercial. Beetlejuice costume. I saw the parents when they had the faces on them. That was kind of cool. Lethal Weapon, also Christmas movie. God, it's funny. Both of you guys saying the same thing. I'm reading on Facebook, then jumping over to YouTube, and it's coming through the same way. What was my favorite time in school, Jody? That's a good question.
Oh, I love The Princess Bride.
She loves The Princess Bride. I was just talking to somebody at the bar about this. Middle school was tough. I can start there because middle school was that 3-year period of time where all of a sudden you'd be walking down the hallway and you'd see that kid that just 3 or 4 years ago in elementary school was like your best friend. But one of you got cool and one of you didn't. One of you ran into one clique and one ran into the other. So the faces that we used to sit next to in grade school became faces we just passed by in the hallway. And that was always weird to me. I didn't like that. So middle school was probably my least favorite time of school, and that's exactly where she's at now. But she's doing all right with it. But I told her middle school's tough. Elementary school is magic, just because at that age there was so much magic in the world. High school was cool. Parts of it were a breakfast club experience. Some of it wasn't. I guess I would probably say elementary school was the best, just because everybody could be friends with everybody and everything was still fun.
Definitely.
Templeton says, I teach middle school, I can confirm. Oh, says a character from Fiddler. She hasn't, Sarah, I don't think she's seen Fiddler. We did K through 6 in elementary. Ours was K5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 through 12. Dress up as an 80s chick. I think that's a great idea. Lethal Weapon, definitely a Christmas movie, buying a Christmas tree, gave Christmas presents. Exactly. Cleo, are you a social butterfly? She is an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, I say I'm a mix.
She has her moments where she's the first one out there, but more often than not, she kind of hangs back to see if acceptance will be there. We're working on that. Trying to get her a little bit of that Gen X attitude where if you're doing the best job you can, you're being a good person and someone doesn't like you, then just, you know what we say to that. By the time I got to like 11th and 12th grade, I was actually doing so much in school. I was so busy, really came into my own, really realized that a lot of what I thought was giving me problems, school was really in my own head. We're our own worst enemies in school. We think nobody likes us. We think conversations are being had about us. We think things are happening. And although it can, a lot of it's stuck in our own heads. Be a member of a hair band. Oh, Katie, good one. Slapshot. That's a hockey movie. It's hilarious. I'm an introverted extrovert. I'm an introverted extrovert as well. Say hello to Neil and remember I'm Gen X. Hey, Neil. Goth chick. Today, I don't know. Is goth the same as, what do you guys call it? You don't call it goth. Emo. Is emo and goth kind of the same?
No, I don't think so. No. I think I like goth more.
Like, what would you call someone if they had like really, really shoe polished black hair, really light skinned? She's done the Greek goddess. A couple years ago, she was a Greek goddess. Dark clothes, dark makeup, heavy eyeliner, that kind of stuff. What's that? Is that still goth?
See, I don't know. Like, I'd have to see a side-by-side picture.
80 Madonna's costume, I like it. Yeah, goth was definitely a little more morose. I can see that, but I think there's got to be similarities. Mrs. Gearhart said it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Is punk still a thing? I think in the Gen X discussions, punk gets lost. We talk a lot about the deadheads, the potheads. We talk about the jocks. We talk about the preps. We talk about the metal kids. We talk about the goth kids. But I think we forget to talk about the kids that were into punk. And I remember in my school, there was a pretty decent sized punk contingency. But I think we forget to talk about that. We move right into grunge and skip over the punk movement. Punk died in the mid 80s, I think. She has to dress up like dad in the 80s. Oh, Cherie, that's hilarious. Gallows shirt and Umbros. Yeah, but not just the Umbros, right? We had to wear the Umbros soccer shorts, but we had to have our boxer shorts sticking out of the Umbro box. And speaking of friends I grew up with, there's Rhonda Reed, another kid that I grew up with back in elementary school. This is so cool. This is my favorite part of this. Mix of new friends and old. Appreciate you guys supporting me, guys. You're the best. Hyper shirts. I never had one. Always wanted one. Never had one. Punk was still around in the 90s. I mean, in the 90s, I think it got really ridiculous. I mean, the late 80s, early 90s, when we saw the most severe, like really major mohawks and just the piercings that started to come with it and all of that. Tammy, let's see, in school, did I ever hear of the saying, those who know me well, and those who don't can go to hell? I think somebody tried to put it as their senior quote. Well, somebody goes, we got so much supper with hyper shirts. If you looked at the way they marketed those, the girl had a handprint like right here. So, I mean, they played into that whole thing. Ever listen to Nana Muscuri? I know of her. Nana Muscuri. It took me a minute to read that. Flock of Seagulls. Zarina says, I was born in 78. I'm Gen X, right? Absolutely. Gen X, officially, according to sociologists, for whatever it's worth, whatever they know, takes you from 1965 to 1980. Did I ever wear Z Cavaricis? I was a Levi's guy. Honestly, I wore some cargo pants, some carpenter jeans, things like that sometimes. I got into the khaki thing for a minute, but by and large, more or less, I was just like a 90s kid in a Oxford shirt and Levi's. That's it. Ever listen to Steel Panther song 1987? Sounds familiar, but I'll definitely check it out as soon as the live's over. All right. Somebody just said Home Alone is not a Christmas movie. Literally Christmas tree. Literally a Christmas tree in the movie. At Christmas. Anyway, entitled to your own opinion. You're wrong, but you're entitled to be wrong. Buttonfly 501s. Absolutely. I was a preppy. I guess. Cherie, Rhonda, what would you guys say? Was I a prep? I think I was too much of a nerd to be a preppy. Maybe by junior year, senior year, I don't know. I did not buy into the starter jacket craze of the 90s. At that point, I was still wearing my Levi's jean jacket with a hoodie in it. I did, however, beg for and never got a CB ski jacket. I was part of the ski team and never got to have a CB jacket. My parents said they were too expensive. And not only did they not buy me one, they wouldn't let me use my own money to buy it either because that it was ridiculously expensive. And in their words, not mine, a complete waste of money. You no spend money like that. So yeah, no. If you had a button-up shirt and Levi's, you were a preppy. Okay. That was just me. Sarah, I like that. Because I'd wear jeans and t-shirts a lot too. Braxton's instead. Hey, Rhoda. Good to see you. Anna, how are you? Listen, if the stuff relates, it relates. I always say that. Gap jeans and corduroys. I hated corduroys. Oh my God, I hated corduroys. The only 8-track tapes we had in our house are the ones that my mom's sisters would send her overseas. So we had one of those giant stereo cabinets in our living room, and it had a record player in it, a radio dial in it, and an 8-track. And a lot of my mom's stuff that would get sent as care packages from overseas, they would put in the 8-tracks of Greek music, and my mom would pop them in and listen to those. Do I remember the prep roll? I did it. I'm guilty of that one. Tough skin corduroys. I have permanent burn marks on my thighs from corduroys. Friction burns. Tough skins were so damn tough. First of all, the knees didn't bend until like after the 12th wash. So you had to wash them like a dozen times. If you got past the dozenth wash, now they would bend. Now you finally soften them up a little bit. But all throughout those 12 wearings and washings, I would take them off at night and my knees would be blue. The ink would stain my skin. Hated those things. I'm seeing congrats to Doreen. I'm not seeing why. I'm wondering if, well, congratulations, Doreen. What if congrats are in order? Van shoes, I had kangaroos. I remember the roos. I had those. I had a lot of Bobos, basically no brand shoes. Bob's Big M or JJ's were two grocery stores in the town I grew up in. And at the end of the aisle, they would have what I affectionately refer to as the bin O shoes. And my mom would just reach in and you would grab by the laces because the shoes would be tied together by the laces and you would just look for sizes. And they were basically plastic that looked like leather. And I wore those a lot. I got Nikes at some point. I remember Reebok at some point. Never had Converse. No Vans. For me, Vans were back then. Vans really were a huge part of skater culture back then. Now a lot of people wear them. Hell, now I have a pair of Vans now. But for back then, it was more of a statement. Yeah, that's exactly right, Kevin. Sue Ditmore brings up the Dr. Scholl's torture devices known as the exercise sandals, the clogs. I don't know how you women wore those things. Adidas, I had a pair of Sambas at one point. I just bought another pair recently. Kimberly, we just brought up the clogs. I wore Keds. Penny loafers, Reebok high tops. LA Gear was big for a while, more for girls, I think. Penny loafers with a penny in them. I am guilty. There was a period, I guess I was preppy because there was a period of time when I did that as well. Not a lot, a little bit. Did I have any OP gear? I did. Somebody just mentioned jams. I had that too. Little bit of Ocean Pacific. It's funny. There was this store in the town that I grew up in called Gallows, and it was like a discount clothing warehouse. It had jeans and stuff like that, Carhartts and Levi's and Wrangler and Lee, and it carried name brand stuff like OP, but it also had some secondhand type stuff. And they carried a line called Ocean Atlantic. And I got to tell you, if you're not going to be able to afford the real thing, just go the other direction completely. Better to wear a white t-shirt to school, right? Plain white shirt with nothing on it, than to wear what I like to call a near miss. Because at me all day long. It was horrible. The James way, the Ames version of clothes was just a bad idea. And I swear to God, there are times in my childhood that I think my mother's motto when it came to be buying me things was close enough, it was cheaper. Because they looked at value. And it's like, listen, the shirt does the same thing the other shirt does. But I'm like, just no. Go plain. If you can't get me what I want, go plain. It's the same thing with JCPenney Hunt Club. Remember that nightmare? It had like a little polo guy. And from a distance, it looked like you were wearing polo. So people from a distance were impressed until they came up close and realized you were faking it. Carrie talks about Champion being popular now. It was the clearance rack for us. Jinkos were ridiculous. Dockers, I had Dockers. Topsiders or Docksiders? I think I had Docksiders. We never wore those things, just reeked to high heaven. They were like the boy version. Well, girls wore them too. But I remember thinking that jelly shoes could smell really bad and didn't realize that it's like then Docksiders came along and said, hold my beer, because those things got to be rancid. British Knights. I forgot about British Knights. User says Topsiders. Jelly shoes were horrible. And first of all, they made your feet disgustingly dirty. The girls would take them off, and it looked like they were still wearing them because the dirt would coalesce around where the jelly was, and you girls would take off the jelly shoes, and imprinted upon your foot in filth would be the pattern of the jelly shoe. So that was special. Hellraiser says, yeah, I heard that complete waste of money a lot. Sweet dreams, Deb. Take care. Good night. The Tigre shirts for the guys. Yeah, I think I had maybe one or two.
I loved my jelly shoes, though.
Dee Dee says, you had jelly shoes? I don't remember you having jelly shoes.
I had like purplish pink ones.
Really?
Mom gave them away.
Dirt. Mrs. Gearhart says, dirt and blisters. Remember when tennis shoes were on school supply list for elementary school? You had to bring in a pair and the teacher had a box with everyone's names on it. I remember wearing specific clothes for gym. We had to bring in our gym clothes and leave them there. And it was disgusting because I remember bringing my gym clothes in like September, and I don't remember taking them home until like the next year. Popped collars. I never really did the pop collar, so I wasn't that preppy. I thought that was one step too far.
Oh, yeah, I was watching.
Huh? I've been talking about my mother, and she's online. Hi, Mom. I love you. Everything I've said has been nice. Didn't say a bad thing about you. I promise. I love you so much. You're my favorite. There she is. I love Cleo. I love John. That's my mama, everybody. Sula Kotrides Sullivan. I love you, Mom. I miss you. Does my daughter have to bring... Guys, here's the thing. In a lot of schools, they don't even have gym all year long. It's like a half-year elective. You don't have gym this semester, right?
I do.
But you don't next?
No.
No, it's only like half the year. It's insane. And then her gym doesn't even have a pool. My gym growing up had a pool. So we had a swim rotation, which we all hated because you had to swim and then you had to try to shower. And the girls loathed the swimming rotation because that meant that when they got done, they had to try to get their hair to be the way it was before getting in the pool. I mean, it was just bad. Mom, everybody's saying hi to you. Tell me y'all didn't hate swimming. You were fancy. Garanimal shirts or Izod? Neither. Gym was mandatory all year, every year. For us too. For us too. We had to, it was part of the physical fitness thing. Oh my God, Katie, that's amazing. I actually remember that. I literally remember her coming in. Aw. For those that don't see it, Mom just wrote, hello to everybody. My son is number one, isn't it?
Did she just call you it?
Bob, did you really? So Bob Weber just said we did the naked swim. And I was doing research because a couple of boomers, I've got some boomers that follow my site as well, and that's great. But they talk about in the 60s, it was normal. It was actually mandated that no swimsuits during swim class in gym. I thought that was just a huge, horrible myth. I can't imagine that being real. I do remember square dancing. I did that. Presidential physical fitness test. I remember doing that. Elizabeth, I'm with you on the hating dodgeball. It's an unpopular opinion, but when you weigh 30 pounds soaking wet, have glasses thick enough to burn ants on a sidewalk in February in the Buffalo sun, and are the worst athlete known to mankind, dodgeball is not your friend. They do still do the physical fitness test. What they don't still do is weigh the kids in the gym all together and then announce their age so that somebody can track it.
We did that last year, but they didn't announce it.
Yeah, no, we would step up. We would step on the scale, and then the teacher would tell the person recording that this kid is this height. Susie, give Joyce a call. She'd love to hear from you. Mom, give Joyce a call. Yeah, the weighing was rough. The shirts and skins was rough. I remember boys being traumatized by shirts versus skins. Because, I mean, let's face it, we literally got thick skins over it, though. If you were the heavier kid in gym class and you got picked for skins, it wasn't comfortable. If you were the kid whose ribs were poking out of your chest. But you know what? That stuff made us stronger. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. It's not me. These are the things we talked about at the beginning of the show, how things have changed, right? That we looked at things that we thought were wrong with the way we were raised and we changed it. Now, like everything else, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think some of the changes to kind of bring it back full circle as we wrap around now, because we're at the hour, some of the changes that we made, what is skins versus whatever, Royal Palm? So when you're playing two sides in gym class, boys, the gym teacher would just say, half of you guys take your shirts off. So there'd be the shirt side playing basketball versus the skin side playing basketball. These are things we changed. And as I said, the road to hell is paved with good intentions because some of the things we changed, we didn't realize that as awful as they seemed, they may have had some positive aspects to them. Bob reiterates that heavy kids swimming naked in class sucked. I can't even imagine. Red Rover sent Fatty over. Well, somebody just sent me a meme. and it like displays the differences in generations on how to relate with advising someone on their weight. And it says baby boomers, and the quote is the baby boomers say, "Hey, you need to lose a couple pounds." The millennials say, "Hey, you look fine just the way you are." Gen Z says everybody is beautiful. There is no one body type prettier than another. And Gen X says, "Hey, I know 5 fat people. You're 4 of them." So, not nice. Yeah, says Cleo, go to bed. Remember the colored buttons you got in swim class? I didn't get that. I remember the pennies. Seriously, naked pool class. It was a thing. I literally looked it up, and I think it was before 1970. It was mandated as a way to help young men and women overcome modesty.
I'm surprised Yaya's not in bed. She goes to bed really young.
Have I heard of Enormous? Have I heard of Enorma? I think I've heard of her. Still the fat kid. I'm trying my best not to be. I'm not fat. All of you are stupidly skinny. Remember the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Tammy, that is probably the biggest diversion from our generation to next. We learned that words can hurt. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, we're tough. I get it. But let's not kid ourselves. Words can hurt kids. We know that now. But there is something to learning how to choose not to be hurt by words. You cannot choose to not be hurt by sticks and stones. You know, when we threw stones at each other for fun, when we threw bottle rockets at each other for fun, when we shot BB guns at each other for fun, it hurt. We couldn't choose to not be hurt. But our parents and the adults in our lives really did teach us in a way to minimize, at the very least, the pain that we would feel in relation to words. Yes, they hurt. We learned they hurt. We don't stand by and allow it anymore. But I think we're tougher because we learned how to minimize that hurt. If that makes sense. We chose not to outwardly let it hurt us. Maybe. Dorinda says words hurt as hard as a fist. They can. But a fist hurts. But Dorinda, playing devil's advocate, Gen X and all, if I have a choice between a fist to the face and you saying mean things to me, if I'm being 1,000% honest, just based on what I'm able to compartmentalize and what I'm able to deal with, and I know we're all different, I'll take the words.
What's your son do behind you as he's still in school?
I think he's being funny.
Okay.
All right, guys. Cleo, what does the 280 stand for? She was in tryouts today for a new volleyball league, and they put them in shirts with numbers so that they could track them.
Oh,
and
club.
Club. Travel club, though, right?
There's a lot of people there.
Jill says, I'll pick the mean words, too. I mean, listen, again, I don't judge. It's not my job. I don't judge the past. I don't judge the present. I say this is different from that, and it is what it is. And I wish nothing but the best for everyone. I will forever be interested more in what unites us than what divides us. But all things being equal, we are not today the people we were then, for better or for worse, and sometimes for better and sometimes for worse. And that's the substance of our page. To look back fondly, to remember, to laugh, to commiserate, to say, my God, how do we survive that? To say, my God, we should be proud of ourselves for improving on that, for saying, what the hell were we thinking, for stopping when we used to do that, all of it. And that's the whole point. It's the point of these 1-hour sessions. It's the point of the page. It's the point of the community. So ending it up, I noticed a bunch of people today on Facebook hit that subscribe button for Facebook. There's a link at the bottom that says subscribe to get exclusive benefits. Basically, that exclusive benefit for those that subscribe today or those that might yet subscribe is access to our private Facebook page. You guys will love it. It's where you can jump in and put the comments in there that you want me to see, each other. It creates community. It allows you guys to post memes. And I got to tell you, it helps me create content because you guys help inspire me with that stuff. So thank you to those that have done that. On the YouTube side, guys have the ability to join the page, which also allows you to monetarily help the page, support, and all that good stuff. Last thing I want to mention, starting in about an hour, I'm gonna start it tomorrow morning. please jump over to the community side of YouTube or to my Facebook page, or most importantly, the link tree that I have on both sides. Neil says, I don't know how to subscribe. Neil, if you look at the pinned comment, you should see that it literally says subscribe to get exclusive benefits. The other way you can do it is just go to my page. Like look up my page on the very front, and at the top, there's a big green button that says subscribe. And that'll give you access to our page, our private Facebook group. Take care, guys. The next Review Mirror podcast will be Friday at 5:30 on YouTube. The next Take My Followers to Work Live will be Tuesday, 7 p.m. on YouTube. And then we'll be back here Sunday night for another edition of Wonderful World of Gen X. All times listed are Eastern time. Check my link tree for a link in about an hour if you guys want to play this week's version of Trivia Crack. It's going to be all 80s again. Doing a nothing but 80s trivia challenge. Go to my YouTube page at the very top of the channel. Go to YouTube, go to Facebook, click the link tree. There'll be a link there that'll get you in to this week's Trivia Crack challenge. It'll be a 3-day contest. Again, this week centered all around the 80s. And if you can't do any of those things, I'm going to put a story up on YouTube, on Instagram that'll link you there. All right, guys. Have a great week. I'm going to go hang with this one, get her ready for school in the morning. Sending you guys lots of love. Until next time, as my buddy Chris Clue says, stay rad, everybody. Have an awesome week, and try not to gag yourselves with any spoons. Love ya. Peace. There's that one. There's that one.